Yeah, the data for the 3 years passing, I'll do 3 years rushing, and we can start adding coaching changes and some other things to that. And I'm thinking that uh, Dennis, I thought I'd shoehorn in the WR1 for each of the years and their COM MVP metric.
Oh,
So
very
you
cool.
see 22, 20, see if there's any correlation there.
I
In other words,
like it.
especially at the extremes, is that telling us something a little bit about the calm and whatnot? So I'm going to figure that out if I got time. You never know, but never know. Anyway, if you want to start our regular one, we can go ahead.
Yep. Yep. Let's jump right in. Here we go. How you doing, everybody? This is Dennis Michelson. Welcome to the science of fantasy football. Why the science of fantasy football? Well, you get a meteorologist and a biologist together. They're going to use the scientific method. That just means they're going to be using statistics in a more honest way to guide us to the answers we seek. And joining me as he does each and every week, several times a week, during the regular season. He is the fantasy professor. He's a real professor emeritus. It's John Bush. And John, week one underway. We're already into victory lap season, I'm sure.
That is true. I'm in mourning for your Kansas City. I hate foreign
Oof.
games and Friday games and all those weird times and places. And, it's just, I never feel like I get the full potential on any of those strange games. I always feel like there's stuff left on the table there, and just a feeling. That's just feeling, not metrics, Dennis.
Well, I think we have seen that both on the weird games, meaning Thursday games, the early games in the season, and also on the international games, we've seen some highly peculiar data from those games, and they tend to be a little less in the scoring, and they tend to be a little bit more unpredictable. It's almost like some teams travel better than others to these foreign games. And then there's some weird stuff that happens, in this game here with the Chiefs and the Chargers on Friday night. 3 plays into the game, friendly fire, Kelsey colliding with Worthy. And here's the thing: if they miss each other, Worthy's wide open. And that's going to be a huge, huge gainer on that play because there was nothing over there on that side of the field that was going to stop him. He was going for 30, 40 yards. And instead, he gets just creamed and taken out by his own tight end. That's a large human being to run into. And I don't think we're going to see Xavier Worthy for a few weeks. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if we see Rashee Rice back on the field before we see Xavier Worthy this year.
Yeah, I was afraid that he had separated a shoulder. I do not know. Do not know.
But what we did see from the Chiefs was what I expected to see: that left tackle, Josh Simmons, the rookie, along with last year's rookie that they tried at tackle and now have moved in to that left guard position. They both held up very well. The only liability on that offensive line is the same liability they've had. It's Jawan Taylor, several false starts, a couple of holding penalties. He's in mid-season form already, but doing really well, other than the mistakes with penalties. Uh, Mahomes had a lot of time to pass, so that's encouraging. We saw that Tyquan Thornton, another one of these guys that they brought off the old junk heap, who's got good speed. He looked good. They'll get Jalen Royals back next week, so that might be the additional speed that you need in that lineup with Worthy out. And Juju and Hollywood Brown really looked good. Juju doesn't look all that quick, but he still finds those creases in the defense to get those opportunities over the middle. Took a little bit of the heat off of Kelsey. In fact, when they faked the pass to the middle of the field on that one play, it broke open Kelsey wide open for that 37-yard touchdown pass. So I think the Chiefs will be okay because they will be able to protect Mahomes. And I expected a big game from Mahomes because I was worried that they wouldn't be able to rush the ball against the Chargers. That turned out to be pretty darn accurate. I was hoping we would get Isaiah Pacheco into the end zone on a couple of goal line tries. I thought maybe we'd get him into the end zone, but that just never seemed to materialize last night. First half was awful for the Chiefs. They should have been blown out of this one. Their defense kept them in the game. And then late in the game, they came on, but their defense let them down, letting Justin Herbert get loose for a couple of running attempts. And the Chargers offense is looking good on the passing game. I wouldn't be surprised if they are opening up this offense a little bit more. They've got three very good wide receivers. I know that's crazy to say about Quentin Johnson, but I have been a big believer that he would get better again this year, and he has. Getting in the end zone twice was a little bit of a fluke, but he was getting a lot of targets. So I look at that Chargers team as places that I'm going to go shopping for some wide receiver help. I already have quite a bit of Quentin Johnson and Keenan Allen on the bench to go with Lad McConkey. So all three of those guys are looking good. And that running game, you know, it showed some flashes with Hampton, but this is a very tough Chiefs defense. So can't make a lot of snap decisions on Hampton being a bust because he didn't go for big yardage, because he looked solid and he was holding on to the ball, and that's what I like to see with rookies.
So I have a question. If you
Yes.
had Fab, what percentage might you line up if Keenan Allen is out there or Quentin Johnson? Just, without any knowing anything, just generically, if people are in ESPN or Yahoo, are they worth picking up? And if so, how much Fab?
I'd go pretty light,
Okay.
but so $1,000 bankroll of
Yeah.
Fab,
Yeah.
which is what we have at
Yeah.
FPPC.
Yeah.
I'd go maybe $15
Yeah. Okay.
because I just don't expect
You don't expect two touchdowns a week?
I
Come on,
don't
Billy.
expect 2 touchdowns a week. I,
I
I
thought
don't
we
think
were betting
I
800 on it.
don't think he'll have 34 on the year.
Okay.
Um, but I do think that he will. I was more impressed with the targets he got
Yeah.
than just two good red zone opportunities, but he actually got three red zone opportunities. So they misconnected on one there, and
Yeah.
then actually another play that
Uh-huh.
Herbert ended up running out of the pocket. There ended up being called back because of a penalty. He was open for a while in the end zone, so he's obviously going to be a good choice for them when they're in the red zone. To see that many targets already was when you've got two very, very good wide receivers in McConkey and Allen, who were also got their targets. There were a lot of targets shared. So I'm very impressed with QJ. I thought I have a lot of him in best ball, and I've got a lot of him sitting on the bench. Did not play him this week. Was not sure what I was going to get. He was more of a bye week replacement for me though, and I'm very encouraged by what I saw because of all the targets.
So, just to, let me see here. There we go. Just to share something that I did in our matchup lab uh, data here, Dennis. Our 3 years, number 4, KC, number 5, Chargers in passing attempts over the last 3 years, kind of a grand average versus the league average. So they are way up, traditionally very high. So now my argument might be your fab might be a little higher if I show you this metric to remind you, Dennis. You see, I might go, look, if I was in a bind, if I had Godwin and Rice and I, had two solid, but I needed a third, I might get a little aggressive, over 100 for Quentin Johnson, maybe 50 for Allen. Maybe aggressive if I needed that. I think early in the season, there's probably an article here that I think there's three categories of wide receivers. There are the rare Puka sightings. In other words, we got a WR1 that nobody figured was a one,
Yes.
something
Yes.
crazy, and you better, just blow the bank out. I mean, I remember Puka, I think I got him that year. I drafted him after somebody told me late that I should, So I'm greedy. I wanted him way back. So I did get him in some leagues. Thank you, Dennis. But you could have been more timely. And I think like week 2 or something, I was able to pick him
Yes.
up.
Yep.
So I think there's going to be that rare situation. And so those are probably going to be the highest. Then I think we got this next bigger, broader area that could be a bye week or maybe a surprise 2, 3 type that could help you. And I think that's what Johnson and Allen are. So that's at that
Yeah.
next
I agree
level.
with you.
And then I think the gambles are these 4 or 5 that could, maybe they're rookies. Maybe they're coming back from it. Maybe there's something to say if there's an injury above them, they could slide in and make some noise later. So to me, there's probably a strategy article there, Dennis, if you divide. So I think if we looked at a distribution, the main trunk of it would be the 2, 3 bye week types, but the extremes would be the Puka or the 4, 5 that could be in a rookie or injury move in to a bye week viable. Let's call it bye week viable. There's another definition there in your fab. In other words, I don't see enough fab strategy for early in the season, mid and late. We probably should think about that. Folks, I got great ideas. Dennis does too. We need interns. I'm calling now. If you have, if you're willing to do data collection and want to help us, you can start interning for the grand sum of $0. Kind of like some of uh, our best fab bids of $0. But you could learn a lot. It would build your character in fantasy football. I promise you. And we could start you on secret projects, and it would start you on your way to all the fame and fortune that fantasy football delivers. You could be part of that pie. Anyway, so I'm asking for interns because I got a lot of questions here, Dennis, and a lot of tests and a lot of research. But anyway, that's what I just wanted to note, that strategy article. The reason I say it, folks, you say, well, why didn't you just keep it? Because if I don't say it to Dennis, I'm probably going to forget. Dennis is probably going to forget. But at least 2 of us, what's the odds that 2 old codgers will forget? Probably pretty high. But I think together we have that synergy of forgetfulness that maybe one of us will accidentally, when we're having our morning coffee, that caffeine eases up into our brain and we Crazy old Bush talked about this. We need to remind him about this. So anyway, that's my hope. But there's some data there just to look at some of these, and notice Dallas is up there too, Dennis. They passed more than
Oh,
people
yeah.
might have thought.
Yep.
And some of the sad ones. See, Baltimore's tricky.
Oh, yes, they are.
Don't forget Zay Flowers, folks. He doesn't get fed. Can you imagine Zay Flowers on Cincinnati or
Woo,
Tampa
boy.
Bay?
Yeah.
And DJ Moore not on Chicago, but some of these. So you start thinking at times, and I'm saying Philadelphia, that worries me. I not maybe I was too high on AJ. I don't know. I love Devonta Smith. I was more high on him than I think AJ Brown, but AJ Brown was there a little late, and I felt like there may be some value there, but maybe I needed to think about this a little bit. We'll see. I got him.
Well,
I'm not
well,
getting rid of him.
here's the thing with AJ Brown.
Okay.
He hit last year, despite these statistics, which were even down lower last year
Yeah.
than the last previous two. He still hit a 133 on MVP. So he's a highly efficient guy. But what we saw was a little bit of rain before the game, and we saw, a situation where they were able to run the ball on Dallas all day long. We didn't see the best of Philadelphia's defense or offense,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not worried. And this is my little sermon for today. Don't panic. Okay, 1 week does not. 1 week is another data point, but 1 week does not set a trend. Now, if we see another down week for both Brown and Devonta Smith, and I have more of Devonta Smith on teams than I have AJ Brown because the cost was less. AJ Brown was at that cost level where there were other options, usually Chase Brown at running back or Josh Jacobs at running back, that I preferred more to AJ Brown. AJ Brown is a player, love him. And I think it's possible as the season gets going that we'll see more of 2023 with more passing than what we saw last year. There was a huge drop in the passing last year because their defense was the best in the league. So they did not have to throw the ball a lot. But I encourage you, do not panic on AJ Brown or Devonta Smith. They will be better than what they were. Here's an interesting stat for you, Professor.
Yep.
There has only been one game each of the last 4 years for AJ Brown where he saw fewer than 5 targets. He had it he got his 1 week out of the batch here.
Right.
And then with Devonta Smith, we've seen 3 bad games from him a year where he's been under 5 points. Yeah. And he got one of those out of his way. This is the first time in the last 3 years that both of them had a down game at the same time. So that's a peculiarity that I don't expect to repeat itself. Boy, oh boy, so much other news going on in the NFL right now before we get to the data. How about Christian McCaffrey ending up on the questionable list? That certainly got people's attention this week.
That's crazy. I did not draft a share of him out of 40 leagues, Dennis. I
have a few leftover shares in dynasty teams that I decided I didn't want to trade away at the low for the player. I wanted to keep him. That's the only shares I have of CMC, despite the fact that I had him rated. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
So with my MVP ratings, okay, and looking at all of our data,
we were high on him.
Throw away last year because it was an injured year, but if you look at the data from non-injured years,
spectacular.
He was worth that value of what you were spending late first
round. Was it
round.
7th?
He was about 7th, 8th. and on back. You could get him, as late as 10, 11 in some leagues. And as early as I saw him go fifth is the earliest I saw him go in leagues I drafted. And at that point, he was a decent value according to the data.
Yeah.
But I went a different direction each and every time. I had opportunities. I had one opportunity to take him at 112, and I took Giante and Henry instead. I just couldn't pull the trigger, even though I had him rated high enough to
Yeah.
justify that selection. In those first 3 rounds, better than zero says minimize risk. So I minimized risk on him and Tyreek Hill this year. Will it come back to bite me? Possible.
Yeah.
But I'm not sitting here worrying my way through Christian McCaffrey already being on the questionable tag heading into week 1. I hate having my guys hurt before the season even starts hurting them.
Yeah. I'm not sure I know what to do, folks. If you've got him, if he plays, you play him, but I just don't know what. So, who should we be stockpiling? Brian Robinson? I don't
So
think I don't think he'll be out there. So, who's after him?
I would take a shot at
Rondo
Garando
for a
because
buck
yes, because
today,
yes,
tomorrow, folks.
yes,
Do it now before
yes.
because wouldn't everybody's not sure what to do for $1? Why not try to pick up Gorindo, or is it Elijah Mitchell? Is he fourth?
No. Elijah Mitchell's with the Chiefs now,
Oh,
so he
okay.
gone, and
Okay.
Mason's gone. He's with Minnesota.
So
So
who's that
really,
left? Who's the fourth?
well, it
You
gets
don't
a
even
little
know.
lean.
Huh?
It gets a little lean
Okay. So there
when you
is
look
no
there.
fourth there. Yeah. So it sounds like Gorindo's last man standing on the handcuff to the handcuff. Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. The
For a buck.
technical next man up, okay, is Jordan James, who is starting the list or starting the season hurt.
Oh,
So, and other than that, it's Patrick Taylor who's already been put on the IR.
oh my
So
goodness. So
there
they would almost
is,
have to grab somebody.
they would have to grab somebody because I don't think Jordan James is set to
If
come off.
CMC is out 2 or 3 weeks, then they would have to make some type of move that we could pay attention to.
Well, I'm sure they got somebody on the practice squad, and I can actually look that up because I know how to do that.
I don't know how to
But I
do that.
think that's probably the route that they would go. I'm sure they have somebody squirreled away for the rainy day on the practice squad. Let's see who is on the practice squad here. So here it is. The practice squad would be where they would be grabbing a guy, and the choice would be very lean, very lean. So they actually do not have this is shocking to me. They don't have a single running back that was signed to the practice squad right after training camp broke.
Do you think Brian Robinson was a play because there was indications there were some issues?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
You think
definitely.
so? Now
Definitely.
that we hear
Definitely.
this,
Yeah, because they're paying premium dollars and they didn't have to trade much. So it was good insurance policy for them. You're not paying a backup running back 3.6 mil unless you're planning on using him. And no, that's not huge money
no,
in today's NFL. But that's more than your major, your NFL minimum kind of guys that you usually line up in that situation. And Brian Robinson does not play special teams. So he's just there to be a running back. If something happens to CMC and he's gone, I don't think you're going to be seeing as, just a direct play. I think Garendo will get a little more use than he will if
But for a
CMC's in there.
dollar play, everybody's looking elsewhere. He would be a nice
I'd go
stash.
I'd grab Garendo because, Brian Robinson, what if he goes down?
Yeah.
Then there's nothing else behind him. So, yeah, Garendo is a good stash in on your bench just in case. I expect CMC will be fine. I expect he'll play this week. I expect that is going to be what we see every week is we're going to see him not practice at least 1 or 2 days a week. The thing that caught my attention is week 1 missing Friday practice is a big
everybody.
Big deal. Like later in the season, if a guy misses a Wednesday or Thursday practice and he's there and he's even limited for Friday, I'm not worried because he's a veteran. He knows the drill. He knows what he's supposed to do. He knows the offense. So I'm not worried about that. But in week 1, when a guy misses Friday practice, that catches my attention.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we've announced our counter move, Garendo, so I guess that knocked that out. Any other news that we need to be worried about?
Well, I don't know if worried is the right word, but apparently Judkins, the rookie running back,
I saw that
for Cleveland, is flying to Cleveland to sign. And once you're listening to this, he'll probably be under contract. They have agreed on a totally guaranteed contract. But here's the kicker.
Okay.
The NFL hasn't finished their investigation yet.
Nope.
So Judkins is not going to be cleared to play right away. And he certainly won't be ready week 1. So looks like Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson will get the first try.
What's the split you predict on those guys?
I think it's going to be a pretty tight split. We're actually going to look at that game. That's going to be one of the games we handicap.
Okay.
So we can kind of take a look at that game.
We'll worry about that later then.
In a little bit more detail. But because I'm interested to see how the data breaks out for these two. I have some Ford. I have some Sampson. I have more Sampson than Ford on my rosters this year in redraft. Sampson was one of our late 5 running backs.
I was collecting him with others. Yes,
and that was even before Judkins' issue.
Correct.
So I had him tagged as one of my 5 late rookie running backs.
You announce them now? Sure.
Well, I had Jadon Blue, I had Woody Marks.
Yep.
I had JCM, who now wants to be called Bill. And that was back in May.
And Ray Davis.
Ray Davis was on there, and he's not a rookie, but he got into that group.
We were looking at opportunity too.
We're looking at opportunities of who could be the next man up. And then Taj Brooks was on that list. If I had Chase Brown, I was grabbing Taj Brooks on every single team. And I had Scatabo on there as well. If
anybody sees these, it's worth $1 while everybody's looking elsewhere.
If you can get them right now, and Woody Marks is a guy that if he is on waivers,
so he would be your
league,
top of that.
Yes. Yeah. Because he's got the open opportunity. He's got just, a lot.
What about Ollie Gordon?
Ollie Gordon is another one that was on my list. And I love Ollie Gordon right now. If Ollie Gordon, Woody Marks, Dylan Sampson, even Jadon Blue, who was, inactive week 1, a healthy scratch, which I don't care with rookies. He's a play later in the season if anything happens to Javonte Williams. But any of those guys are on waivers and you can find room on your roster, I would grab them. because later in the season, those rookies are going to shine. And with Woody Marks and Ollie Gordon, they could be shining early. But here's the thing, folks. We're drafting them from the 11th round on.
Yeah.
Those were the guys we were taking at the end of
With the
drafts.
better than zero theorem.
And now
The
at the
DMC patented
yeah.
better than zero theorem.
And at the end of draft season, you could no longer get those guys.
Yeah, that sucked. And I didn't like that this year.
They were going 8th, 9th, 10th in a lot of FPPC
I didn't like it.
drafts.
I didn't like it.
You could get them early.
And Dennis, I was noticing the week after I came back from Expo, I was starting to see those guys. By 2 weeks after, I seen the movement up.
Yes.
So it wasn't long before the noise was pushing them up.
Yeah, and some of that. No, and some of that was because of injuries. When Mixon went down, of course, Woody Marks went right up to the top of the list.
Yeah.
And, when Shane had some issues and Jalen Wright was also dealing with injuries, obviously Ollie Gordon went to the top. But these were players I was valuing long before the injuries because
you had your opportunity index article. People review that and take a look.
And remember, I made the comment that looking at how many rookies break through in any given year, we were due for a big rookie turnover. And I said by week 6 that I expected 6 to 8 rookies to be leading their team in touches from week 6 on. And I still stand by that. I still look at those rookies. This rookie class was really, really good. And it's funny because if you look at some of the rookie dynasty drafts that I was in this year, some of these guys weren't even being taken after 4 rounds. And I was quickly grabbing them up off of waivers and stashing them. And that was back in May, the early drafts. By the end, some of these guys were going second round in rookie drafts. That's how quickly the noise went. And, when I watch college football on Saturdays, I keep a little notepad out by the TV. And if somebody makes a big play, somebody starts making noise in a college game that I'm watching, I just jot their names down. And all of these guys were people that I had their names jotted down. JCM last year's notebook. Okay. Yeah. Not the 2024 college season, but the 2023 college season. I saw him play a game and I was like, ooh, this guy just hits a hole hard. He just looks like he's much better than the rest of these college kids that he was competing against. Last year, only 1 game before he was declared ineligible by the NCAA. So we didn't really see anything from him. But Woody Marks loved, Ollie Gordon loved. They made the notebook on several occasions. And then when you combine that with the combine where they looked good, and you combine that with, notice I didn't say they looked slow in the combine. I don't care how, I don't care if the guy's a little slower. Bucky Irving didn't score well at the combine, but his footwork looked great in the drills. Same with some of these rookies this year where, maybe they didn't blaze a speed, they didn't make a headline with a fast 40, but they play fast in college football with all the pads and helmet on. And they looked good. Their footwork looked really good. The one back who I didn't like his footwork was actually Hampton that the Chargers have starting for them. He's got a lot to develop in his game. And we saw it. We saw him make a couple of strategic rushing mistakes. One where he went out of bounds toward the end of the half when they were trying to kill the clock.
Yes.
It cost them 3 points. And another run where if he would have just gone forward, he would have gotten the first down. He tried to break the run to the outside and he got caught. his footwork at the combine showed some of those like slower decision. It doesn't mean he's a bust. It doesn't mean he's not going to be a great player. It just means that he's got something to work on here now that he's in the pros versus a Bucky Irving who, when I saw his footwork at the combine the year before, I was like, I don't care what he ran. I don't care what his 40 was.
Well,
He looked good.
and to interrupt, but some breaking news:
Uh-oh.
Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top was filmed shopping in a Bucky's down in Texas, and he bought some Bucky socks. They were plaid socks. So if you're wanting a Christmas gift, give your kid, if they're a fan of ZZ Top, there you go. Buy them some Bucky socks. Go find the video. He's walking around shopping at Bucky. So when you mentioned Bucky Irwin, I had to break that breaking news that Billy Gibbons is out shopping at a Bucky's near you. So there you go. Rub shoulders with the Beaver and ZZ Top, Dennis. So
Oh my
continue
goodness.
on.
I
Uh,
love
okay,
me
so
some Buckies. I'm sipping my
Bucky
water out
chips,
of my
Bucky
Buckies,
nuggets,
my
Bucky
Buckies cup.
Bucky
I've got my tea in
brisket
the Buckies cup.
sandwich. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah. You can't get
And
enough
we
Buckies.
and we have a Bucky's 3 miles away building, and I get to see them
Oh,
building. So I'm so, in fact, if my daughter ever sells the house, she still lives here. Sometimes parasites never leave mom and dad. Uh, uh, she she can put that in the description near Bucky's. I'm telling you, that will add value to the home, folks. There you go. You want Bucky's next door. I know it's noise, so maybe like half a mile down the road, that will give you more eyes on your listing, Dennis. So if you guys in Danville ever get a Bucky's, probably should buy you some land nearby. There you go.
oh
Make
yeah.
you some money. Anyway, before we talk a little bit, I just wanted to start a discussion, uh, kind of our weekly, how we do things, but just kind of a philosophy. We talked about that in our Wednesday show a little bit, and I just wanted to emphasize top down, and I bring that to Dennis's and mine's attention. It's to my attention when I do the data. I don't know beforehand. I'm not, I don't have a photographic memory. That's why I have to make all these figures with colors and arrows and stuff, that you hated fractions. You can imagine you hate my figures, but give it a shot. But top down to me is looking at the league level, where a team is at the league level in some type of metrics. Just I like to know where teams set. I introduced passing attempts, and I'm going to next week do rushing, and we'll have all that for the last 3 years, and we'll start gathering data this year. And there's lots of once you build a database like that, so not only should you work on your diary, but why not make a resolution, fantasy football resolution, to start your own data uh, uh, spreadsheet for what you think is important, and drop it in. And you don't know Excel, there's learning. I actually have a video on using pivot tables in Excel. It's buried somewhere. If I remember, I'll dig it up and advertise it. But that helps me visualize team level data in the league. Then I look at maybe division level, right? Schedule, strength of schedule in, say, the West, the East, NFC, AFC, these kind of things. Just kind of tells me where teams might be, who might make the playoffs, these kind of things. Where's the competition? And then we get to position level. In other words, I like to look at team usages, opportunities, you can call it, right? Touches, targets, these kind of things. Where does a team running backs fit in the league? You know, are they some of the highest in touches or the lowest? In other words, and rushing attempts can catch some of that too. I like to look at multiple ways to catch information, folks. The more information that is dealing with a topic, I think you can get insight. I think a lot of the talkies and slappies out there just do one little metric. And, you know, I pick on air yards because I hadn't got around to testing it, but I don't know how much more that adds to us versus, say, red zone opportunities or touches or targets or passing yards. I just don't know if that is so independent that's just telling you something different versus, nah, it's a lot crossover with what we already know. The more different a metric is from all the others, the better. And I'm not sure people have a list, Dennis, of where are the most independent metrics. And my theory is independent metrics probably come from a fusion of your opinion versus metrics, how you interpret and add probabilities to that. And I've challenged Dennis uh, to put that on paper. So when I do that, because I'm trying to get him stepping out of what everybody else is doing to add something different, because Dennis has a lot of things he juggles, and it's important for me to understand what he really says. He'll say a lot, but you
Yes.
know, is Woody Marks really more important than Ollie Gordon or not? You know, if he tells us probability, if he was going to bet, his betting will inform us, right? If he likes two horses at the track, I say, well, Dennis, what's your bankroll say? You gonna put 100 on one and or a dollar on the other or 50-50? Whatever it is, it's information that's specific for what you're doing. So I would urge you do a diary, start your Excel, and try to think in probabilities, and you can start learning a lot about yourself. I think that's the unexplored side. People are talking about AI. I think that's just going to make a lot more data available to a lot more people. But if you don't know how to handle it, if you don't put your spin on it, if you don't record it, if you don't use your diary, how do you know what's important? It's too much information increases confidence but not accuracy. And I did share that research where people have actually done that. And again, more information, 50 pieces of information doesn't help you picking horse racing. You're the same that with 10 key pieces. And they even did another study, Dennis, in that they did basketball teams with data, and some people were not given the team names. Some people were in the data.
Oh,
And what happened was the people that had team names ignored the data and the metrics because, in quotes, they knew the team. We know the Celtics. We know the Warriors. We know, uh, the different teams. So I can ignore all of the data, especially, say, the last 4 weeks of data. That doesn't matter. And that gives you an insight into weakness that you might have.
yeah, and I do love that top-down approach, and I also love the challenging yourself
Yes.
to make a forecast. And this
Yeah.
year I'm doing a live test all season long, and it's quite ambitious, I think, because it's a lot of forecasting every week, and it's not just grabbing a guy willy-nilly, but I'm looking at every quarterback that was drafted from Mahomes to the back of the bus in fantasy football, and I'm trying to say, do I have predictive skills on a weekly basis? And is that predictive skill, is there a reason for that predictive skill to be there? Is it based on DAPS? Is it based on game scripting? What is it based on? And, the only way to get better at something in forecasting is to actually do the forecast and then to track the results and to see, am I predicting 70 or 80% of the time correct with the quarterbacks? And all I'm predicting is plus or minus from median or a median performance. And when I say median, I'm saying within 5 points of the usual median for the quarterback position. So in this case, I'm using 6-point touchdown, 6 points for passing touchdown or rushing touchdown. And I'm using the number 20. I'm using 20 or more points. The median would be 15 to 25. If I'm saying median, that's where I expect a guy to be. 5 points either side. If I expect him to be higher, it's 26 or higher. If I expect him to be lower, it's 14 or lower. And so I'm going through that every week for the quarterbacks that you could have possibly cobbled together 2 of them to make an elite quarterback. But before I know if that strategy will work, and it's a strategy we've used a lot. Last year we had a lot of Prescott and Love, and then when Prescott got hurt, we went to Baker Mayfield, who Baker Mayfield was available on waivers week 1 last year, folks. Went on to be one of the top quarterbacks in fantasy football. He was available at the end of every draft and in some leagues on waivers week 1. Same with Bo Nix, ended up being a solid play. So there are late quarterbacks that can really pay off. Goff was in our group last year of those. Love, Mayfield, Prescott, all were in that group of late quarterback ads. And I even had some Sam Darnold in there. So my goal this year is to see how good am I at forecasting this. Do I hit more than I miss? And when I miss, do I miss by no more than 1 category? So in other words, it would be a huge miss if I had forecast, as I did, a plus week for Mahomes. Now, that was going against a below average defensive matchup. So it was a negative defensive matchup, but I didn't expect KC to be able to run on the Chargers. So I thought, if they're going to be productive, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes. And so I forecasted a plus. Now, if he had 10 points or 12 points on the night in fantasy football, that would have been a double miss. That's horrible. If I miss, I want to be 1 category away. And it's a simple forecast, plus, median, or minus. And so we'll see. After a couple of weeks, we'll see how good I am at doing this. I'm going to do it all year long. And we'll see how my success goes. Do I get better as the season wears on? Am I just as good week 1? We'll know after we look at the data, and then we can do some study on it in the off season and figure out if this is are we good enough at forecasting? We don't know who the 2 or 3 that would be our quarterbacks that we would have to choose from any given year, because the ADP is always changing. But if I can look at quarterbacks outside the top 5 and do well on forecasting when they're going to have good weeks and bad weeks, then it opens up the idea of another strategy. Because if I'm not good at forecasting and picking between 2 quarterbacks, then give me the elite quarterback who I don't have to choose from every week, and I'll be a lot happier. But I think we can get some late round value, and we can cobble together a very good quarterback week in and week out.
It's a good test. I'm curious to follow it through. Again, we will be building metrics. Once the DAPS will be changing, we'll talk about that, and the efficiency. Things will build, so we should get a little stronger as we go ahead. We do have the matchup lab that we recorded for the sports affiliation, and it should be over there. And so please look for that. It's 12 noon on Saturday. So we'll try to get it out. Hopefully, we'll be there this evening. I don't know, Dennis, maybe tomorrow. Jump on that. We have the highs and lows for the game matchups. And I guess we've got a few you want to cover here since we have our separate podcast.
Yeah, I've got a few intriguing ones that I'm
Intriguing.
interested to see the matchups. So the first intriguing game of the week,
Yeah.
Arizona and New Orleans.
Okay. Let me share. Gotta share. Let's see. Let's see. This is Buffalo, Baltimore. So, would you know what game number that is?
Probably
New
pretty
Orleans. I
late.
found it.
There you go.
It is right here. So, folks, if you're not familiar with this, go watch our uh, matchup lab. And I spend a lot of time going through, but I'll go ahead and assume you kind of have seen that. But anyway, we have Arizona 27, the Saints 14. Vegas thinks that Saints not going to do much in anything. It's sad. Saints are at home. Arizona's a favorite, away favorite, which I haven't done the metrics on. That would be interesting. In other words, do all away favorites? Is there a big spread? I don't know the answer to that. In other words, if it was a pick 'em or 1 point, would they still favor the away? Or at what point is the Vegas predicting the game is 2 points? In other words, where does Vegas shift off? I mean, the ones we've seen are pretty high spread and given the favorite away favorite. So I'm curious about that. 42 and a half, that's low. That probably means not a lot of passing yards relative to high over under games. Our defense against position, the DAPS, give us a view of the defense that each team is facing. Arizona facing New Orleans. Overall, flavor New Orleans above average easy. Running backs, James Conner should rock and roll. Easy means, it's just on a silver platter for him to chew and chew. And if Arizona gets ahead, Benson may actually come in and might be worth a prop play or a lean play later, Dennis. I don't know. Some places let you play like second half stats, so there may be some props there for Benson. I think. In other words, Connor maybe not is needed as much. There's no use in putting him through if you've got Benson. I don't know the scenario. If New Orleans can keep up, then maybe Benson plays longer. Wide receivers, Harrison should be fine. Trey McBride should be fine. You want to play the defense and the kicker as streamers. I played Arizona everywhere I could this week, even though I'm a Saints fan. Saints at home. Arizona's a little bit tough, below average, but Kamara has an opportunity as well. I'm afraid Kamara better get his early because I'm afraid it's going to get out of hand, and Kamara better be pass catching to collect. So I don't know. I mean, he's usually done well pass catching, so I think he's still an okay play for a RB 1-2 type. Probably this week. Wide receivers, Alave. I've been really having trouble playing Shaheed, Dennis, for sure. He's off my
Yes.
board
Yeah.
this week. He's playing a good scenario in a bye week kind of guy, and he's a handcuff for Alave if he's out. The quarterback, don't know, and the tight end, Juwan Johnson, he's good. He might surprise us, but it's hard to play off this. The kicker's fine. I would not play the New Orleans defense. Arizona and New Orleans, believe it or not, were the same efficiency,
Yep.
and they both loved home away. So New Orleans loves home, Arizona doesn't. So that does give some hope here that New Orleans can do better than Vegas thinks. Uh, Arizona is going to pass 23% more away, rush 21%. So even though I say Connor has an opportunity, the tendency is they're going to want to pass more. So sometimes the DAPs give us conflicting information, and I have not had time to track that. In other words, what do we trust more? Efficiency, rush pass, home away splits, Vegas. I couldn't tell you which one is, for sure believable. I think that it's floating, and I think it's up to us to kind of read the Ouija board a little bit. But there's some interesting metrics there. New Orleans, uh, not very efficient at home, passing better than rushing, but I think Kamara has an opportunity even if the efficiency is 10% less and the wide receivers are having tough. So I think they're going to try to push rushing earlier and spot pass. And I think if Arizona gets away with Connor and Harrison and Trey McBride, then I think New Orleans is just it's going to be garbage time, and Olave. If I'm playing Olave, don't be surprised he's zero until the second half and he collects you maybe a touchdown and some yards. I could really see it being lean, but if you can get average at 13, Dennis, you're happy with Olave. I'm a little concerned. Betting wise, metric wise, love the Cardinals 80. Kicker's okay, but I'm looking elsewhere. Murray's 55. That's a quarterback two type. Connor 74 average, so he could be an 84. He could be a low RB1 this week or an RB2. I think Benson, like I said, it's scenario driven. He could be higher than that number suggests, folks, on props. McBride, this data says McBride collects all the passes, and Harrison, he could be an 81, 85, or he could be a 45, Dennis. It could be up or down. And if he's my one, whew, I wouldn't have drafted him as my one. But if he's your two, then it's a gamble. I might set half my shares if I got somebody better here. Not saying anything about Wilson. New Orleans, the highest spot is Kamara, 71, so he could be an RB2. So, he's probably drafting that, so he's probably worth that play given the DAP. Spencer Rattler is bleh, and Olave is high uncertainty, Dennis, and Jawan Johnson. So, Olave, if you can get average points, and if you got to play him, that's what you hope for. Shaheed, that's a little aggressive. I think in a normal situation where there's not strong apps, that could be something worth a pick. But, he could catch two or he could get you a -2. I mean, it's just, boy, it's crazy. Even though I said low uncertainty, that's a WR4 type. That's kind of what he is.
Yeah, I would have a hard time playing Shaheed this week. I'm looking to see if I have a better option than Olave, but I'll play him. Always going to be playing Kamara. I think he's a good play. Uh, I'm actually very interested in this game because I think it's going to be even lower scoring than what Vegas is saying. I think it could be a messy game. I don't want Murray in my lineups if I can help it. I'll put James Conner in and McBride in, and that's the limitations that I have. So I'm looking, Conner, McBride in my from Arizona in my lineups, and Kamara for New Orleans. Those would be the only three players I'm feeling really good about. I think Arizona will squeak out the win. I wouldn't bet the spread at 6.5 either way, and I would take the under on this game. Let's go to another game where we have a big decision to make on our dynasty team at quarterback.
Yeah.
Let's look at Houston and the Los Angeles
Let's
Rams.
see. That is Houston and the Rams. Where are you, Houston and Rams? Uh, Denver, Tennessee, Green Bay. Here we
There it
go.
is.
There it is. 14, 24-19, 2.5. There's the home field. I'm not sure I think Vegas is probably closer to dead even on that, but they gave the Rams the home, usually they add 2 points to the spread. 44, about average. Houston has an opportunity in the passing and the tight end. How about that? Is Schultz still on there?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Well, there you go. 44. So there you go. There's your long shot prop right there uh, for that. Would not play the defense. Rams, you could play an emergency, but I think they're better picks elsewhere. I like this week Arizona, New England, and Washington, and then maybe Cleveland to, Burrow gets loosey goosey. He'll throw them up and throw them up. So there could be some here. Rams would be fifth or sixth in streaming. If you got to play them. Rams, the running backs, tough. So I think they'll want to pass, and Puka should collect in this scenario. Believe it or not, Houston and the Rams about the same efficiency last year. Rams love at home, 17%. So Vegas likes the home. They have a home field efficiency advantage, and they love to pass at home. That's exactly what the DAPs are giving them. Everything looks slick for Rams to win. Houston loves to rush away, Dennis, and hates to pass. And that's exactly kind of opposite that. But Mixon is not there. So it's muddled as to what's going on. But I'm going to say that this efficiency is pointing to activity in rushing maybe early in the first half. So if you're playing Woody or whoever you're picking, maybe you hope for some nice first half activity before maybe if the Rams pull away. They may not. This may be closer than we think, but the Rams are really good at home, Dennis. And let's see. Player wise, uh, Kyron Williams, 70 to 80, so he could be an RB. He's an RB2 low, could be a low RB1. Not scared of him. Not playing Higbee. Puka and Devontae Adams are right there, like WR1 2 and a WR2 3 type. So this would say play them both with the Daps and Houston. So that may not be a bad thing. I wouldn't play the defense or the kicker. Stafford's at 27. Not not really enamored with
Ah,
anybody else. Yeah, that's not good. Stroud is at 29. Fairbairn might have something. A kicker. Love Nico Collins as your WR1 type, so I do think that. The metrics, Schultz, 44, that's a tight end 2-3, But if you're gambling, maybe there's something there. Woody Marks and Chubb are tied with Pierce right there. It is a muddled mess, and it would be a gamble that if you bet any of those, and if you're going to bet any of those, I'd parlay them with Schultz to get some points or some catches or something, Dennis. If you really wanted to take a $2 holler, long shot bet. They're about plus 3,000. That's what I would do.
So, as far as the starters go, well, first of all, I think this is going to be a higher scoring game. I
Really?
think,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
both defenses could give up some yardage in here, and I think there could be a few takeaways by both sides. So I
Mhm.
think this is going to be one of those deals. Does somebody get a short field? Does the team turn the ball over and give a short field to somebody? Man, that's appealing for me here. I think there's a chance for some points being scored, but both teams have very aggressive defenses. They'll give up some yardage, but and get burned with the occasional big play. But boy, they will try to get the turnovers. So I do like the over on this one. I think 43.5 is too low. And I'm taking Houston to pull off the mild upset on the road.
Wow. Aggressive.
Yep. So Kirk is out, and obviously Mixon is out for Houston, but love Nico Collins all day and stay away from the running backs. Do you see how that pans out? Chubb will be probably splitting with Pierce with some Woody Marks in there, but I can't figure it out. On the Rams side, you're playing Kyron Williams if you drafted him, and you're playing Puka and Adams if you have them in your lineups on your rosters as well. They belong in your lineups. And here's one where even though the DAP is not as favorable for the tight ends, if I need a if I had a late tight end that I drafted, a lot of it was Higbee with the Rams, and I expect him to have a few interesting weeks. This might not be it, though. But I'm expecting Houston to turn around their offense from last year, but it's going to have to be in the air. So I'm looking at Stroud in our dynasty. We've got
Yeah.
Stroud and Goff to decide between,
Wow.
and I'm kind of leaning slightly to Stroud based
It-
on the matchup,
uh,
but it's close.
what's the weather?
The weather's going to be a little bit of wind in Green Bay, so that's why I'm a little bit concerned about Stroud or why I'm favoring Stroud ahead
Okay.
of Goff a little bit, but
Yeah.
I'm not sold on it yet.
Well, Collins should collect his.
Yeah,
Can Stroud run?
no, not a
No.
big running. Not going to be gaining a lot of yards. He's probably like
So,
one or two scrambles is about all you're going to get from him.
wow, Dennis. Uh, yeah, I'd probably, I think if you think we need upside, I'd go Goff. If you think we need safe, I'd go Stroud. So why don't you look at our lineup and see kind of what we need? But because I think Goff has more to shoot at, while he's letting the ball fly, right? I mean, you know, Laporta, he's got Sonic and Knuckle. I mean, it just seems like he's got a more of a powerhouse team around him that could accidentally get some stuff that might extend. In other words, I think it could be not a grind out, but more of a a pass and 40 yards or a touch. It could be he could get 6 8 points quick and another 6 8 points quick. During the game for 16 plus his usual dink and dunk. So I think Stroud, on the other hand, if Nico is shut down, he's going to have a hard time getting, you know, 16.
Yeah,
So
you just convinced me. We're gonna play it smart and go with the better of the two offenses,
that's why
which is Detroit.
I mean,
Houston,
when he throws the ball up, he's got a lot more viable people to
yep,
come down with it.
that's the way we're gonna go. We're gonna
If you
play.
told me the wind was brisk, then I'm probably
It's
back to Stroud.
it's not going to be awful, but
Uh,
I'll keep an eye on it in the morning and we'll make a decision. In my forecasts, I have both players being within 5 of median. So I've got them pretty close in
yeah,
my quarterback forecast between the two, but slight edge goes to Goff because it's a better
yeah.
offense, and that would
And
be the way to go.
yeah, Dennis, let's do one more and then we'll shut this down. The reason I want to do one more is you see here, Jacksonville, Carolina, I think
Woo
could be,
boy.
look at the DAPS. It is
Yes.
rare, folks, that I have seen this kind of layout for DAPS. I mean, if there is any shootout extravaganza, the DAPS are highly pointing, and even Vegas is 46 and a half. They're not, if you ask Vegas, it's going to be some points scored, I think they would say, yeah, we think there's. So it looks interesting. I know for various reasons people have drafted from these teams, not necessarily their ones, Dennis, but Chuba could be a good two. And, Ingram I picked as a one on a few tight ends. And so to me, I just like this layout here it to me it promises lots of activity and I like that. As a fantasy player, I like possibilities of lots of point slinging going around the old corral. And they give Jacksonville the edge. Given these DAPs, I'm not sure I'm buying the spread or the edge one way or the other. I would not bet either straight up to win or the spread. Maybe tease with the over under, but I'm not sure. I just like some of the player props because of what I'm seeing here. It looks like you can stream the D's, the kickers. Certainly the quarterbacks could be streamed given this, the running backs. I mean, it all looks good to me here, Dennis. Carolina was actually a little higher. They were about league average at 49. 50 would have been league average. So they were right there at league average. So, even though they're away wise, they love to rush more than pass, and Chuba can do that. And Jacksonville is pretty much the same home or away. And nobody really has a home away split a lot dramatic. So, the data is in telling me if I'm betting this to look for maybe touchdown props or some maybe a little aggressive parlays in here, Dennis, for Etienne and Hubbard or maybe the two tight ends or just kind of flick it around a little bit, see if you get some parlays or maybe some uh, anytime touchdowns, thrown from Carolina and Jacksonville, maybe both. So the DAPS, Lawrence is 50, Etienne is 50, so about an RB 2 3. Strange has an opportunity. He could be, a tight end two, could be even stronger stream this week. I may be playing some of him because I got off Ferguson. So, yes, and now that I realize I did not play any Ferguson, I was off him. In a lot of places, Strange was my two. I put Strange in because I think he could beat Ferguson. Brian Thomas should collect all day long. Travis Hunter has an opportunity, so I'm liking that side. And Chuba is there. You want to play him and that rookie McMillan. So I can see some even Leggett might slip in. So this is kind of an anti-thinking too, kind of uh, maybe crappy teams, and I put that in quotes, but compared to each other, they kind of stack up. So I mean,
Yes.
it's the matchup, Dennis. So there may be some surprise flexes in here, Dennis, that you might not have thought of outside this matchup. If somebody said, "Hey, I'm gonna flex out Carolina or Jacksonville people some deep plays," be like, "Huh?" But Leggett might be a play, certainly Strange. I'm sorry, Ingram Strange a while ago. Travis Hunter. So I'm seeing some flex possibilities here just because this weird DAP arrangement.
Yeah, and I love this game. I think it's going to be even a higher scoring game than the 46.5. I like Carolina to win this game on the road, but I'm not so sure I would bet it. Just
Yeah,
don't feel confident enough about that part of the play. But I agree. I have a lot of Travis Etienne that I'll be running out there. I've got some Chuba Hubbard. We'll be starting him, of
in
course,
our
in our
dynasty.
dynasty team. I'm not adverse to starting Lawrence. I even have some shares of Bryce Young as my second quarterback in a super flex that I expect both guys to be pretty close to median scoring. So
That's
I'm
good.
I'm looking at a good day for
19
both.
points each. Yeah.
Oh yeah, love Brian Thomas Jr. Even though he gets a little tougher DAP, I
Yeah.
he'll cash in. I love Strange this year. He was one of my tight end plays as far as late tight ends go. Also like Sanders from Carolina, with Thielen being dealt and Coker going on IR. I'm looking at Sanders with remarkable upside potential.
Sanders
Um,
is a wide receiver,
Tight end,
tight end.
Jatovian
Yeah.
Sanders,
Yeah.
and he's
Okay.
is at
I told
46 and a
you
half
there's
here.
your prop with
Yep.
Strange and Sanders.
Yep.
There's your prop, Dennis. There's your
Love,
parlay for $1.
yep. Love McMillan all day.
Yeah.
Think he's going to get it.
And I
And
think Leggett could actually stretch out there and might
he's,
accidentally catch a tip in the end zone
he is not a bad choice here.
for gambling.
They signed Hunter Renfro. I don't expect him to do
Yeah.
much. I would stay away from him. But yeah, there's a lot to love here with all of these guys here. As far as I think it's going to be a high scoring game, so I want some parts and pieces
Yep.
from that Carolina Jacksonville game because I think there will be a lot of points. So folks, don't panic. Don't get too crazy. It's week one. Play the guys that you drafted in the first 5 rounds. Don't give up on the guys that might struggle in week one. Head on over to the sports affiliation. Check out the matchup lab where we're talking more matchups with the Squirrel and Husky games. And of course, come on back here next week for another edition of the Science of Fantasy Football.
Get to work, folks.
All
That's
right.
that's a lot of stuff, Dennis.
That's
We
a
went through a
lot of
lot of
that's
stuff.
a lot of stuff to cover, but I
Yeah.
think
Maybe
and
we'll go a little faster with
we'll
the
be more
matchup lab.
we'll be more streamlined with matchup lab from
Yeah.
future weeks,
Yeah.
but you do have to set the table of explaining what you're talking about,
Yeah.
and we can sort of back up some of what we're some of the explanations can come within the matchups
Right.
themselves, starting week two. So that'll speed things up a little bit. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I think we were pretty good on getting. I mean, we didn't go off on tangents. We didn't take any junk time. There was it was pretty
No, it was
lean
pretty lean for us.
for us. For
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
yes. I always
Yeah.
specify for us, but I
Yeah.
thought that went well. I was very happy with that.
That is good. I'm sitting there looking at it is Old Dominion Derby Day at
Ooh,
Colonial. So there you go. I don't
wow.
know. I don't know who's in town for that for some of the jocks here.
Oh man, you
So there,
probably pick up some good plays.
yeah. So anyway, I just saw if you own a racehorse, expect to lose 3 to 4% of your paycheck each week sporting your horse.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's well what we learned when we owned the harness horse
Yeah,
is there's quite a racket
yeah.
involved.
With
So
yeah,
so at the harness races,
yeah,
when you would send your horse in for services, for medications, whatever.
Right.
It was actually legal for the vet to give a kickback to the trainer
Oh,
for
wow.
recommending him to the owners. So the owner would be paying the bill, and the trainer was getting a small percentage of whatever was being spent in medication for choosing that vet. And I always thought, man, that's just a racket, because the trainer could have a horse on stuff that he doesn't need. He ain't paying the bill, and he's getting more money. It just, to me, it was, I just saw that and I was like, man, there's a racket here. But yeah, there might be some trainers that'll be popping in that are, and they're going to bring extra horses than just the stakes race.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know what's going on.
So
Be
there might be
interesting to
some
see.
interesting plays today.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Very interesting.
Well, you probably got fish fry. I gotta go walk my dogs and have some
Yeah,
lunch. So
gotta see what's going on with the pooch and with
I
Stace.
gotta check my waiver wires, make sure some of these fools are not still out there. I not had time
Yeah,
to
I'm
peruse
gonna
it,
do the
so I
I'm
gotta
gonna do
hit
the
that.
same.
I avoided. They have drafts tonight. Startup
Yeah.
Dynasty,
Oh
Dennis. I'm
God.
avoiding it for us. But
Yeah.
maybe next year we should start another one.
Next
But
year we
we
should do
should
one,
do
but I would want to do that draft as a slow draft early in the
yeah, have
season.
thoughtfulness. But anyway, I was
Yeah.
laughing. It was like, man, they still got degenerates out
They
there
can't
drafting
can't get
tonight.
en can't get enough, and that big
Gorilla,
oh
whatever they call
that
it.
that big league. What is the other one that is big?
Oh yeah, yeah.
But that NF,
NFFC or whatever it
yeah,
is.
they're drafting out in Vegas all week.
Can you
So,
imagine partying
and
in Vegas?
that's like a $2,500 entry for some of
But
those
Dennis,
leagues.
I'm not going to Vegas with all the sights and craziness I need a little booth at the Denny's, you and I,
Oh God, yeah,
and
yeah.
quiet and focus, not,
Oh,
hoop to
it's
la and all the
insane.
drunks flicking around.
It's
And
insane. I don't know how
I
you could
I
do
could
that.
not risk that kind of money in Vegas.
So my worst team last year
Yeah,
in everything that I drafted
yeah,
was my Scott Fishbowl live draft,
yeah.
and I and I wasn't even drinking. So, but you get caught up in all of the hype
fracas.
that's going on,
But see, I
and
liked our draft night out. You and I
draft
in a
night out,
booth, quiet. We were
we stayed
talking.
focused. Yes, we stayed focused.
I like going for a
Yeah.
booth and sitting there. That was good. If we can do
Oh,
that again next year,
that was
that's
the
the way to
way.
go.
That was the perfect way to do it, because we could just debate between us,
Yep,
every pick. And
yep.
no, that was good. We had some horse racing on,
Yeah,
some
it was
good
all
munchies.
it
It
was
was a
all good. Yeah,
good
we had.
times were had
I'm
by all.
looking forward. You know, uh, yeah, and
I actually like my team too.
yeah, I
I
think.
think my team will be competitive.
Yeah, I think mine will be okay. I haven't even looked at I don't even know what the fantasy pros think of my team. Let's see.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, title belt. Trying to find, I'm not sure. I can tell you what they think of our original JSC. Oh, that's our,
That's our dynasty
yeah,
that we picked up. Yeah.
let's see, League Analyzer. Let's see what they think about us.
That's a weird team, by the way.
Is it weird? It's
It's a
got some
weird team.
IDP.
It's got some IDP in it, and
Yeah,
we've got some interesting plays where Stafford and Lawrence are our two quarterbacks in a super flex. That's not very good.
no,
But
that's not good at all, actually. But
but I'm
you got to build. It's a
always
build.
always willing to try. Like JC was like, he was this was an orphan that I had turned down, and he came back. He was like
Come
the
on, man.
well, it was still out there like on Wednesday. And so I
Yeah.
said, okay, I'll pick it up. I don't want to see a team go
Yeah.
without leadership.
You're
I'll pick it up.
ranked ninth
That's about right.
in the science of fantasy. You're ranked fifth. Fifth. According to this, it doesn't mean anything, but that's what it's ranked. The writers. So you're going to have to whoop our ass, Dennis. We can't be fifth. We cannot be fifth there, but we'll figure it out. Okay, I will let you go. I will record. I'm going to send him the video for the matchup lab, huh? Are you
Yeah,
going to
that
send
should
him
do
the
it.
audio
No, I did.
recording?
So I didn't do an audio recording for that. So that video
Okay,
is all we got.
okay. Well, I'll do that then and see if he, how he wants to put the stuff. I don't know kind of how he's going to do it. We'll see, but it'll be there. We'll see if he can get it out by tomorrow morning. It'd be good.
Gotcha.
And if you can get me this, I'll try to
Yeah,
move it out today for sure.
yeah, I'm putting it together right now. I just
Good.
realized I screwed up something, so I got to go back, but
Okay.
it should be I should be able to pull this one out pretty quick.
Okay.